Did you know that Florida State's 2024 recruiting class has a world-class sprinter?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. You can catch us every day here on the Locked On Network. You can get us anywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube, right here on Locked On Network, your team every day. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by Bird Dogs. This is our sponsor for today, and I've even got the hat on right here. Check out Bird Dogs. You can check out Bird Dogs today's episode. Enter promo code birddogs.com, Locked On College, code Locked On College for a free tech hat with any purchase. I have to admit, it's rather comfortable. Not gonna lie. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. I promise you. Today's episode is also one that is a little bit unique because I had the opportunity to go up to Tallahassee, check out Micahi Danzy. He plays at Florida High. It's a part of the institution that is Florida State University. It's their specialty, if you will, to come up with this, because I was on campus for the first time, and that is a beautiful place. If you're in Tallahassee, you want to see a really cool high school, that's not your normal school. It is manicured, and they have a big-time football program. They got beat by Cocoa in the state championship in overtime last year. They've got a lot of talent. Ashton Hampton's going to Clemson. Micahi Danzy going to Florida State. They've got a couple of juniors that are really good. They got talent. They got some size and a few other kids that are a little bit underrated. Really enjoyed it. I want to talk quite a bit about why Micahi is important, playing him with Cam Davis. I actually talked to Micahi about that. And I also want to talk about the ability for Florida State to be that explosive team again. When I was growing up, they were the team nobody wanted to get into a track meet with. They were the fastest team in college football quite often, definitely one of the top 5 year in, year out. And that is why they were so feared. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the linebacker play that is going to be going up against Benson. And then I'm going to flip it around. We're going to talk about FSU's linebacker play against the LSU Tigers, and not just running backs, but like what they bring, experience, etc. I think the leadership factor is going to be very big in this game. I'm not really sure that many teams are going to be able to really match the experience that FSU has. Their inside linebackers and some of the experience as well. It's so important in game one because you can only prepare so much for a first game. You're going to have mental errors. So that leadership, when something goes wrong, very important. So let's start off with Micahi. I'd seen him at Under Armour earlier this year down in Orlando. And I even told him this to his face. I said, I wanted to evaluate. I watched you run around, but it's not the same as watching you get banged and you playing with teammates, because at running back, it's about the physical nature of the sport, etc. And seeing him at practice, it was interesting to me because they had him playing defense at the high school level. You take your best player and they rarely come off the field. He was returning punts, doing different things, just practicing. And they were very, very well coached at his high school. That is a tremendous staff, and they're very consistent. You could tell it's not a normal high school program. And I was just kind of watching him go through. He takes it very serious. Ashton Hampton, the kid going to Clemson, they're good buddies. They have them at the back end at safety. It's as good a 1-2 punch at safety as there is in the country, I can assure you. And I was very surprised at how well they both relate things. The coach there made a very interesting mention to me. This is just crazy. The free safety gets a card and calls the plays. It's not from the sidelines. They put it on the players. Depending on who's in the game, they call it. Hampton calls it sometimes it's Danzy, etc. But the players do. That's how well they're coached. That's going to translate to the next level for both those young men. And good for them. I had not heard that before, but they have the calls. They make the adjustments on the field. That's first. But the real reason I wanted to talk about him was speed. I asked him about what his best time in the 400 was, and he said 45.99. I don't know if he meant 46.99, but he said 45. And if that's correct, even 46.99 is flying. So he's an elite track athlete. That's a quarter mile. When you can flat out sprint a quarter mile, that's one thing. To do it under 50 is good. To get under 48, anywhere in that area, you're in elite territory. Getting down under 47, etc., you're dude. Based on seeing him in terms of how his frame is from the feet to the hips and then the hips to the shoulders, Danzy is exactly what you would look for in a long-range sprinter. 400 is not fun. I can't even imagine doing the half mile. That's not in my realm, but he's very long at the hip, and his stride, even when he was just going 3/4 and they were going through some basic ideas on how they play coverages, who goes where and halves and, playing cover 3, etc. To watch him run in space was really impressive. Going 3/4 speed, like he's a gazelle. He takes such long strides. It made sense why his speed is what it is. He can conserve energy just with his length. I would imagine in the back half of the 200 meters, Danzy does quite well. You can't teach the size. You hear me say that quite a bit. You hear college coaches, college scouts, pro scouts, can't teach size. That's part of it is length. The leg length for a guy that's running off the hash is one thing, and it's also true playing running back. That's the position he is projected at for Norvell and the Noles, and I'm pretty darn sure you're looking at a guy that has the ability to hit the home run, catching the pass, punt return, kick return, toss sweep, inside zone. It doesn't matter. Pretty well built. He could still add some weight. I forgot to ask him how much he weighs right now, but I would guess 180 something, maybe 190. And he's just well put together. Looks like a track athlete. Great kid too. Just really great guy. I was very impressed overall with what I saw. Now, how does he fit in with what the Noles have on the roster or what they do, however you want to put it? We can talk about that all day, but I just want to focus on one thing: thunder and lightning. Cam Davis is one of my favorite recruits in the class of 24, regardless of school, state, position, etc. Might even be my overall favorite for this on and off the field ability, if you will. The first podcast I did here on Locked On was about Cam, and it wasn't by accident. That was flat out calculated. He is also a power runner. He's got speed. He's been clocked at like 21.44 miles per hour, something like that. Cam will thump you. You put him in the backfield with Danzy, you can do some funky stuff with crossbuck, running screens, one of them blocking for the other, etc. And you can also do something that other teams cannot prepare for, even if they know that it's coming. One of them goes to the slot or both. Both of them have natural hands and big time speed. You can be in 22 personnel, means 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. Florida State comes out, first play, run power. Davis off tackle, 2nd down and 5, whatever. Next play, you can hustle to the line and go no huddle. All of a sudden, that same group, you got tight ends, maybe one of them's at an H-back spot, one of them's in the backfield protecting the quarterback, and then your running backs are out wide. One goes in motion, jet mode. You can do all kinds of stuff like that, and you can put both tight ends out there with the running backs. You can put linebackers and safeties in really awkward spots, because if they see 22 personnel, especially if Davis is in the game, teams are going to have to adjust. They're going to have to pick, if you will. There's no free lunch here. The speed of both of those kids is tremendous. And if you, especially with Davis, he coming around the corner, if he gets a head of steam, good luck. For those of you who haven't seen, and many of you probably have on Twitter, he ran over a couple of players in the first game. I mean, with just monstrous hits, just laid them out. Very, very special player. But you put both of those guys out there, it could be a 3rd down and 3. You could move them both to the slot or throw a screen or a toss. One guy gets a fake, or like he's going to take a jet sweep, fake it, toss it to the other one. You've got an incredible combination. Very few teams will have the freshman running back class that Norvell and his staff have. Very few. And it's a very important aspect of football today. It's just matchups. It's like you've heard the old phrase basketball and grass. That's a lot of what they're really doing. And Florida State kind of, I'm not saying they went away from that per se in the last few years, because they certainly have had a great running game. And they obviously last year, it really picked up with the passing game. Jordan threw 24 touchdowns and only 5 picks. But at the same time, you're also talking about a defense that's now going to have to really pick their poison because of the power game. They got 204 starts, I think it is, this year on the offensive line, and they're recruiting better O-line, getting a kid out of the portal every year. I expect the O-line just to be better moving forward. However they get there, got to give Norvell and his staff credit for that. So I'm very, very excited about Danzy, and a great last point about him, just a great young man. He's going to represent Florida State very, very well. So I'm happy to say that he's part of the show for the Florida State Seminoles moving forward. Florida State is not the only thing that I got to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about bird dogs. If you're like me, you're picky about shorts. You're picky about all the things that kind of go on with your day-to-day life. But why not look good and feel good at the same time? Again, I got the hat on. Bird dogs, it's a great company. We're lucky to have them here at Locked On, and I appreciate them sponsoring my show in particular, obviously. Go to birddogs.com, Locked On College, or enter promo code Locked On College for a free white tech hat, this one right here, with your order. That's birddogs.com, Locked On College, or promo code Locked On College for a free white tech hat. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. Yeah, I'm a very big fan of the bird dogs hat. This is about as comfortable a hat I've ever had. I don't know what it is they did, but it just fits my head great. So next thing.